Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming. My guy right here, what's going on, brother? So we're Generations Fantasy Sports. That's what I'm talking about. He knows about that love right there. So we're Generations Fantasy Sports. Again, what we're about is creating a little bit different of a platform to enjoy fantasy by using players from throughout the history of the NFL. So on our current platform, we offer users the ability to pick from the 500 greatest players from throughout the history of the NFL. You perform a regular draft just like you would on a regular fantasy platform, where you're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and so on and so forth. Once your team's selected, the game plays a little bit different. So how you calculate scoring is based on historical data. So we would pick a random game from a player's career and convert those statistics to fantasy points. For instance, we actually have a league going on right now where I have Rodney Hampton as one of my running backs. I'm a Giant fan. He's an all-time great Giant. I had to pick him for sentimental value. So the last game that was chosen was from 1995. He gave me 94, I'm sorry. He had 22 reception yards. He had 76 rushing yards and a rushing touchdown. Gave me 21 points. So what we can do with this is enable the users the ability to have full customization ability. You could choose how long you want your league to be. If you want your league to be 52 weeks, have a 52-week long league. If you want your league to be a day, you could have games that start every hour. We also have games that start every week as well, so you could fully customize that. You could have a league that has 20 teams in it, and you could have 20 teams with Hall of Famers from start to finish, top to bottom. Something that we've heard from a lot of fantasy users in terms of strategy is that, hey, I love live fantasy. All I want is live fantasy. I put a lot of time and effort into live fantasy research. There's strategy that goes along with this as well. So instead of looking at a player's just statistics and trends week over week, you want to look at it year over year. So when you think about Jerry Rice, I think we'd all be a consensus and say Jerry Rice is the best statistical receiver ever. Definitely will be a wide receiver 1 on anybody's team. However, in Generations, Jerry Rice has 20 years just about worth of statistics and data to draw from. So we might have, hey Greg, we might actually have a week where Jerry Rice, you would have a Seattle week, you'd have an Oakland week, you'd have a week where he might give you 4 points, and they're not only Montana and Young weeks, but I don't even know who the quarterback was on Oakland and Seattle at the time when Jerry was their receiver. So when you think about those things, you have to say, okay, how can I sit there and pick a team that's going to be filled with players that were consistent over a long period of time? So come on over, Greg. Yeah, no, totally fine.
You put me in the middle?
Yes, sir.
No.
So when you think about players that might be beneficial to you, think about Calvin Johnson. 10 years of consistency, 10 years of greatness. Barry Sanders, in and out. We don't know Jerry, right? We just talked about him. He might not be the guy. But you think about like a Calvin Johnson who was great from beginning to end of his entire career. You think about the tight end position. So the tight end position is one where it's not super filled with producers. You have Gronkowski, Kelsey, Gates, Shannon Sharp, and so on and so forth. But you don't really have a big selection. So you might lean into the tight end position early, knowing that you're going to get a Hall of Fame running back, receiver, and quarterback a little bit later down the line. So that's the basics with how it works. The funnest part of the league, as I'm sure all of you know, in live fantasy, is the fact that you have a draft that you could talk crap about. The gentleman on the stage right now, we actually did a draft not too long ago, and just wanted to highlight what a round of drafting looked like. So Greg right here, leaning into that tight end strategy, Greg Kellogg, took Travis Kelce, #1 overall in the entire draft. Might sound a little crazy when you're thinking about the best players of all time. Travis Kelce has been probably the most consistent offensive tight end in the history of the NFL over his career. So this guy right here, Travis Kelce, O.J. Simpson, and if I'm not mistaken, it was Jerry Rice.
Derrick Henry,
Jerry Rice.
And Randy
Moss. So for a 2-week period, Jerry Rice and O.J. Simpson gave him a total of about 12 points. He played this gentleman 2 days ago, and Jerry Rice and O.J. Simpson gave him a total of 85 points. So he won with 156, I think, to like 110. 105, something like that.
Points out.
But in fairness, the first 2 weeks I was 0-2.
Yes, and that's what Generations does. It allows you to play with these things and not know what's happening next. And you have the flexibility of doing this in the off season. Live fantasy is king. It's something that we're all a part of. We're all in about 5 or 6 leagues, but there's a 4-month off season. There's Tuesdays, there's Wednesdays, there's times when live sports doesn't have, knock on wood, we don't experience one again, but there's also pandemics. There's things that stop the league. There's strikes, there's injuries. This league right here avoids all of those things. We don't take into account games that the player didn't start. So if they were injured or they didn't play. If there were injuries or bye weeks, we remove those weeks. But if the player was injured during the game, they count. So this gentleman right here, Jet fan, has Aaron Rodgers on his team. He actually got the week that Aaron Rodgers went in 4 snaps on the Jets, season done. That week counts. It happened to people in live fantasy as well. So those weeks do happen. You do have clunkers. And again, that's part of the strategy. Trying to think about teams that are the most consistent over a period of time. One caveat we have to avoid cheat codes. So I think we'd all say if you had Randy Moss as a rookie, that's a cheat code. Randy Moss is going to kill it every single week his rookie season. To join Generations Fantasy Sports, you have to be in the league at least 3 years. What that does is give you a big enough sample size where you are going to have clunkers. You are going to have weeks where the player gives you 2 points, 3 points, because again, that's part of the game. You don't want to know that every single week you're going to have this amazing week from this player.
Yes, I do.
No, well, you have the foresight. They call you the genie for a reason. You know what's happening next. So that's the basics of how Generation works. And I'm so sorry I didn't lead with introductions, but
He gets excited.
yes, I get a little happy. So my name's Nick Uzzilla. I'm the founder and CEO of Generations Fantasy Sports. And before we get into anything further, I'm just going to pass the mic along so everybody could introduce himself.
All right, I'm also the co-founder. My name is Michael Wade.
My name is Chris Carandongo. I'm also one of the co-founders.
I'm Greg Kellogg, and I'm with the Yahoo down there on the end.
My name is Imran Pervaiz. I'm also one of the co-founders with our wonderful fellows over here.
I'm Steve Bradshaw. I actually work at a company called the Fantasy Trading Room, but I've been here since the beginning. We have a lot of collabs in the future plans, and as a content creator, I kind of help give some input on how I think they could improve the app and leagues even more.
And my name is Tip Major. I work with all of these guys and the Hall of Famer himself, Greg Kellogg. I'm not gonna put him down yet. We'll get down and dirty in a little bit, Greg.
He's got to beat me first.
All I'm going to say is going to get real spicy here when we start talking about this league and even past leagues, because we have some heat going on here.
Can I say one thing?
Please, go ahead, Greg.
Okay, guys, these guys asked us to beta test their product, and we did. They listened to your feedback. And one of the things I talked to these guys about last night, they're probably going to announce it later, they're going to add IDP players next year. So
That's absolutely right. IDP is coming in February 2025 when we, again, current version out that's available on the Play in the App Store. You can play it all you want. It's an MVP version and it's meant to gain feedback. Little background about us now that you know how it works, like where this idea came from. It came from the pandemic. We didn't know what was happening next. We didn't know if Corona was going to be with us forever. Leagues were getting canceled. Games were getting canceled. People were getting sick. We said, how can we still make this happen? We all come from a banking background, the founders. No IT background, never did this before. We're just fantasy fans. We had a million ideas throughout our lives that we never followed through on. And we said this would be cool if we could make it happen. We didn't know how to make it happen. With this, we've been developing it for 5 years. And for about 4 of those years, we were making mistakes. We were going down the wrong path. We were making bad decisions. We didn't understand the business side of things. We had an amazing advisory board who pointed us in the right direction. We had a great tech team who supported us to say, hey, maybe you want to go this path to form your MVP. And we did it. We committed our own money, took money out of our 401ks and said, you know what? Let's see this through. If we fail, let's fail epically. If we succeed, let's succeed even more epically. And we're in a space now where once we had a platform and something to learn from, we relied on the experts, Greg, Tip, Steven, to talk to us about how can we improve this? How can we get better? We started attending different fantasy conferences. We've been to the FSGA a couple times. This is our first time at the Expo. Amazing experience. We have folks that we met the last couple days here at the Expo that have invested so much time and effort into us to help us succeed. So what we ask for folks when they do download the application, hopefully not just for the Montana jersey that we're about to raffle off, which is totally cool too. If that gets you in the door, beautiful. But we like feedback. You have access to all of our social media. When you respond to us, when you ask a question, you're talking to us. You're going to get a response right away, and we're going to fix whatever the issue is, and we're going to improve upon whatever we think we can for the platform. February 2025, like Greg was saying, we are going to add IDP. The ultimate goal of this application is to have a multi-sport platform. So the user is going to be able to dictate what the slots are on a team. So for example, if the user wants 10 slots and they want 3 allocated for the NBA, 3 allocated for the NFL, 2 for baseball, 1 for hockey, you could potentially have a team that has Michael Jordan, Wayne Gretzky, Tom Brady, and Ken Griffey Jr. all on the same team. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Because we're based on historical data, not live data, we could pull scores and stats from any time we want without the need for live sports happening. So just think about the possibilities. You and your buddies could do this whenever you want. You could have a season that goes a year long. Instead of maybe putting up $50 on the side, maybe say, hey, I'm gonna put up 100, 150 because it's a year long worth of games. So that's the overview of everything. That's where we currently are. That's how we were founded. Just before we go into the league, just wanted to see if anybody had any comments, questions, thoughts before moving into it. Yes, sir.
Yeah. Test. Okay, yeah, it works. You know, Greg turned 83 this year, and you know, yeah, no, like, so you know, no, the reason I say that is because I get to play alongside somebody Greg's age. Greg is obviously an older guy, right? Greg's age, and Greg is telling me about Fred. He goes, Fred Biletnikoff was this? He was a great player. And I'm like, Greg, I'm 42 years old. I know who Fred Biletnikoff is, but I can actually play with him now. And I can listen to what Greg is telling me. And you know, it brings, it's not only like Generations is a name, but it brings generations together. That's why it's such a badass name, because you're bringing families together. Like, we can be at Thanksgiving, cookouts, whatever you want to call it, and you can have a game where I'm playing against somebody, you know, my dad's age, my grandfather's age, and we are like talking about history of football. That's what it's about. It brings the history back, the nostalgia back. And I think that when I heard this and when I talked about it, I thought it was the coolest thing, because I get to do that with people that, you know, I can't, my dad, you know, he doesn't really know who Justin Jefferson is, but he know who Lynn Swann is. And so he's a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, so he's like, that's one of his favorite players. He knew Mel Blount, like you can't, well, in the IDP we probably could, but you could definitely play with Lynn Swann. And this is something that's gonna be able to bring our football knowledge back together. I had to say that, man, because this is amazing.
Tip, that's a great,
Yep. Too. I've been around this industry for a very long time, because I'm, like Tip said, very old. Most people that get into fantasy football are really good people, okay? These guys, they're really good people, and that's one reason. If being able to, my lineup, I got Randy Moss and Jerry Rice on the same team, okay? If that's not enough reason, support them, because they're good people.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Greg. And Greg, Tip, and Steven have been big proponents of us for the last couple years. They've invested time and effort into us. When we didn't have an actual platform, we just had screens to go through and a concept and a thought. They believed in us, and they've invested their time and effort into us. So those kudos, the story that Tip shared with how it brought him and his father together in conversation, and again, just a compliment from Greg and talking about us personally means so much. And to Tip's point, just with the players from throughout the history, the reaction we're getting here is smiles. A small smile here or there is what our application's about. We were showing folks the application. I seen a guy with a Mark Bavaro jersey. I'm a Giant fan, like I said. So I said, my man, I said, "Do you ever play with Mark Navarro in fantasy?" He said, "What are you talking about? He's been retired for eons." I said, "Do you want to?" He said, "Sure." I showed him the application. He smiled. Another guy saw Eric Dickerson on the waiver wires. So Eric Dickerson's on the waiver wires, smiled, so I'll pick that guy. Like, that's what the application's about. It's about stats, it's about competitiveness, it's about fun, it's about research and strategy, but it's about people. And again, sounds corny. Maybe we're just a bunch of corny guys, but it's fun. It's something that you want to do, you want to enjoy, and you want to sit there and play with. And again, that draft piece brings people together. My cousin, who's not here, we were doing a draft for this league right here, and he picked Calvin Johnson, the pick before I wanted. I was so upset. Imagine having to settle for Marvin Harrison. I was like, okay, I'll take Marvin Harrison, I guess. But that's my reaction to not getting Calvin Johnson. And those are the kind of stories and the kind of memories that we want to share with folks. And again, that's a little bit about our company. I'm passing to Imran to talk about the current league that we have going on.
I mean, yeah, we can get started with that. I mean, I've been busting it down because you can't stop my strategy. Right now, I'm currently 3-0. We're going against another 3-0, Mikey Wade over here. But kind of give you a highlight of last week. Again, I'm going to bring this up because Greg did such a fantastic job whooping up Chris. We just love bringing it up and mentioning it because just to rub it in. Because he is, one of the founding guys. And as a founding guy, you got to do a little bit harder than that.
Always you before I played. He made me help him.
Well, actually, it's funny because I actually wanted to bring up some here with Steven's team, right? So Steven, I know he actually has Christian McCaffrey on his team, right? And I think I was actually going through the draft. What round did you even get him?
I think he was in like the 3rd round or something like that. He was.
I mean, when it comes to relevancy now, he's the top pick, right? Obviously going up there, right? But if you look at what's going on now, like when you look at generations, I think the beautiful thing is you either gotta think out of the box, you gotta kind of go with your own flow, go with your feelings, and sometimes you can just go with who you want, right? And you gotta kind of hope to God that someone else is sneaking that down. So one of my strategies personally is to try to get LT every single time. Sometimes I get them, sometimes I don't. So far, it's been a pretty good strategy.
LT number 2. There's one LT.
This is my LT, all right? This is my LT, okay? Listen, as a Jet fan, there's not many people I could draft, okay?
Another LT after February.
That's right.
In due time. So, I mean, actually, let's take a look at our matchups here, right? So, I'm just joshing around over here, and I got my good squad. I got Josh Allen, Damian Tomlinson, good old Barry Sanders. I actually dropped A.J. Brown to pick up Stephon Diggs because A.J. Brown was just sucking it for me. So I got the wrong side of A.J. Brown, unfortunately. I got D-Hop, Tony Gonzalez, who actually gave me a donut a couple weeks ago. But it's okay, he's Tony Gonzalez. And I got Priest Home, Mike Evans. So just to me, having that mixture of a roster, it just excites me. And it gets me even more pumped for the actual fantasy football season because I have appreciation for the players that we actually got playing now, but I still got appreciation for everybody before. And I got a 4-year-old son, right? So I'm hoping in due time, he will challenge me and say, these players are way better than the players than you ever seen. I'm going to say, no way. And then my pop's going to come up and say, well, back in my day, this is not what's going on here. But we can literally put it to the test once my son's up there because I got to, respectfully whoop him down, right? And that's going to be the plan. I think that's the beautiful thing about Generation. We want to bring everybody together. We want everybody to have fun. If you have ideas, thoughts, game plans, put it to the test. This is the place to do it, right? And I think right now, we're free, right? We're free to play, download it. We want everybody to just get into it. Rip it apart, please. We want you guys to break this so we can continue to get it better. Because without the people, we did it for you guys. We did it for us, the fantasy folks, right? Even though we're hitting football right now, eventually we're going to try to hit basketball. We're going to hit baseball, go international, try to go with cricket, soccer, right? The lines of it is just immense, and we want to be able to just capitalize on the opportunity. But in the meantime, also just capture what everybody really wants from this, right? Because without your feedback, without your actual curiosity picking at our brains and figure out what we can do to get better, we're not going to get better. So please challenge us. Tell us, hey, this sucks. Fix it because it's terrible, and it will make it better so that we can make you happy at the end of the day. Steven, anything you want to add on?
Yeah, I just want to talk a little bit about my favorite feature, and that's the ability you mentioned. You can draft and then start your league the very next day. I feel like a lot of people, the most enjoyable part is drafting. That's one of my parts. But the thing that sucks, in my opinion, is you draft and then you have to wait 3 weeks for the actual season to start. That's fun, seeing it live. But personally, I'm not very patient, so I want to see my team and then see how they perform right away. So just getting that live action is something that no other fantasy company can simulate as fast as that. And that's just my favorite feature. So it's just an awesome team. I just love picking my favorite guys. I'm not as old as anyone here, but
Thanks, Steven.
I think so. But you know, I can get like a guy like, you know, Des Bryant or Matt Forte as a Bears fan, since we haven't had many positive things than last year. And that's super cool. It doesn't matter how old you are. There's a lot of players that you can connect with, and just the, you know, reminiscing factor is super awesome as well.
Can I?
Oh yeah, don't worry. I have a Walter Payton jersey and a Gale Sayers jersey because there's not many other options as a Bears fan.
And both those players are in the app too, Walter Payton and Gale Sayers. If I could just piggyback off of Steven real quick, the point you just made about players that might not be around anymore, or living but not around in the NFL anymore. A lot of players aren't known. So something that we did was we connected with a former NFL running back, a couple of them actually. It wasn't Marshall Faulk, even though the jersey's up there, just my favorite player of all time. And something that he said when he heard about this concept was, I love it because it breathes new life into players that are no longer around. The average playing career for a player is 3 years, very short, and we move on as fantasy fans to the next thing. Who's the next best running back? Who's the next best receiver? So I was about mid-40s right now. One of my favorite running backs growing up, even as a Giant fan, was Ricky Waters. If I talk to a 22-year-old, they don't know Ricky Waters. They might have heard the name here or there. But what this does is now when you're drafting and you're going through the queue and the available players, you're going back to NFLreference.com and you're looking at stats. Were they consistent? Were they good? They're going back and looking at YouTube highlights and saying, well, Ricky Waters was pretty good. I like this guy. Okay, cool. Maybe I'll go with him because CMC won't be there when I'm drafting a running back. So when you think about the what's in it for me statement, obviously what's in it for us as business owners is growing our business. What's in it for our users? Having a good time and enjoying it. What's potentially in it for former players is the ability to monetize their likeness, being due to the fact that, I know Walter Payton passed around, but Walter Payton wasn't around to monetize his likeness, his image, his jersey sales and stuff like players were today. They're not getting those $35 million salaries. So it breathes new life into this population of players that have been forgotten or just talked about by an older generation. That was a pun and that was intended. So that's a little bit more about our business and what we do. So I'm so sorry, I'm throwing.
I love how you talked about breathing life into new players because, guys, we are sitting next to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. Like, I walked into the bus room yesterday and I was like, I was crying. Like, I'll be honest with you guys, dead crying. I'm not a really emotional guy. I'm emotional, but not like a crier. And I was just sitting there in tears, and I was like, while I was crying, I was thinking about generations because I'm like, I can play with this guy. I can play with that guy. I can have this guy on my team. These guys, all of these players are no longer playing the game, but I can bring them back to life. Their playing career back to life. Some of them back to life, you know, some of them have passed. Yep. But just bring their playing careers back to life. And doing that and having that opportunity, although I'm 0-2 and 1, having that opportunity is just, it's like none other. We could sit here and just continue to talk about that part of it, but I want to talk about like how easy the app is to navigate, because one thing that I've noticed is I had Jason Witten on my team, right? And I was like, I'm not a Cowboys fan, but I don't draft with my heart. That's like big thing in fantasy. But I'll go ahead and take Jason Witten on my squad. He had a few good years, right? And he got me 1 point. And I was like, the time I would get Jason Witten, he's gonna give me 1 point, right? So then I was like, I'm gonna go with Dallas Clark. I saw him on the waiver. You can swap players out and get Dallas Clark. And what did Dallas Clark do? He got me one. What did he give me? 1 point.
Yep.
So it's the fun about it, guys. It's the fun about you can actually swap out players. And Dallas Clark had some really good years when he played with Peyton Manning. And so it's one of those things you can swap out, and it's so easy to use. You just click the button there that says players, and then there's like a little circle, and then you click whatever player you want to swap it out with, and that's it. It's really easy, really simple to do.
Guys, so we did okay.
But yeah, it's very intuitive, very easy to use. I mean, my kids are whizzes with the phones anyway these days. A lot of kids are. But like my 9-year-old, I had her playing with it, and she was like, "Oh, I could play this player." She didn't know the names, but it was really cool.
Right, here you go.
I got to ask you a question. All right, so when I played high school football, I was a little bit smaller, 155 pounds. I played in '74. I graduated high school. Okay, in Michigan, there was no run and shoot. There wasn't anybody running wide receivers, so I played tight end. And when we wanted to go to a passing formation, they would split me out. Well, I chose the number 89. Does anybody know who 89 on the Kansas City Chiefs was? He had one remarkable year. His guy's name's Otis Taylor. Now, Otis Taylor may not be in your game right now. If I wanted Otis Taylor, what would I have to do to get him added?
Tell Imran, hey Imran, can you add Otis Taylor? Let's do it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the simple thing is that, right? Like, you know, again, we're a couple of guys. We're 5 guys. Our background is banking, right? We're just a couple of fellows who wanted to figure out how to play this game, have fun, and be a part of the industry itself, right? We're part, you know, we partake in it, we play in it, but what can we do to actually be a part of the community and be able to give something back to the community? And this is what we want people to come back and talk to us back, because if we have an opportunity to add a player or to add something or add a feature, we want you guys to talk about that. And I think being able to talk with us directly through our social channels or LinkedIn or Instagram, wherever you guys work best, right? You know, we're easily accessible. You know, please talk to us, engage with us. And if we can add any insight as well, right? I mean, you know, it was scary. I'll tell you my background, right? I had a chance to join the FSGA to be representing generations, right? And don't get me wrong, it was intimidating, man. There was a lot of people, a lot of business folks, a lot of guys who are in the industry. You know, I'm fangirling a little bit, you know, not, you know, it is what it is. But, you know, I am thankful for a lot of the people I did meet in the industry to get me connected. A huge shout out to Chris Allen with the Cookout, right? Chris Allen, he's a great guy. I think everybody knows him, loves him. But I wish him the best as well. But Chris was just so instrumental in helping me break through my own shyness, right? I could talk a lot too. Nick talks a lot. I talk a lot too. But you know, you still get shy and trying to get into the industry and just talk to people. But Chris was able to just introduce me, get connected with people. But all I learned was that everybody's so open and everybody's willing to help and guide and support. You know, don't be afraid to ask those questions. Don't be afraid to get in there. And same way goes back, right? For us to give back, it's the same thing. So talk to us if you're looking to also do things yourselves. We can maybe tell you, hey, don't do this. We made some boo-boos. We spent some dollars here. You know, whatever we can do to help remove that anxiety and stress. Like, we also want to do that too, right? And the Cookout was a very, very big part of that. Just to give a shout out to the Cookout's initiative to help a lot of other people who are trying to get into the industry, get an opportunity to get in, meet with people, especially minorities, right, in the industry who just need the opportunity to get in there. We're willing to do that, right? And the community is so open. We have a few individuals here that are representing that. Tip as well, myself, Jagger, Jorge, a couple other folks as well, really a part of that.
Second best analyst in football, guys. And I always say second because I've been around Bob Harris for
Yeah. So Jagger's not doing too bad.
I'm better than Dave, that's all.
We getting spicy. I like it. A little salt to the wound.
But, hey, guys, go up and meet these people. You see them on TV, you hear them on the radio. We all love football. Go up and meet them. You're here with them. Go up and meet anybody. Shake their hand, introduce yourself. These guys are great guys. And if you want to change it, like I asked them last night, are you going to add IDP? I haven't played in an IDP league in years, except this year I'm in. My friend Iggy has a thing called FF7s for charity, and so I'm in a brand new IDP league that I know nothing about. They're adding IDP, so what did I tell them to do? Figure out a way to take the defensive players that you've got and take their points away from the offensive team you're playing, so that you can say, my defense stopped your offense. Now, whether they'll do that or not, I don't know. It might be hard to figure out, but it would be a different twist. And you guys all play fantasy sports. You guys all have ideas. Tell them. These guys are great at that.
And if I could just piggyback off of, oh, I'm sorry. You had something, Jorge?
No, I'd love to hear it. Which retired player would you want to draft, as your 101?
It's my guy. Like, it goes without saying, everybody on this panel knows that's my guy.
I've been locking in LT.
I go Rams. I go greatest show on turf.
Yeah, Greg take Kelsey.
Let's go down the line.
Yeah. I was going to say, too, we can actually, I know everybody remembers their first rounds. We just did a draft earlier in the week. So maybe we can actually go about and talk about who we drafted with each other for the first round. All right? So I know Greg was first.
101.
So Greg.
Second pick? I think second pick was me, right?
Yes.
Might have been, yeah. So I
Yes.
picked up LT, Daniel Thompson. That's my dude.
Okay, LT.
Again, I went Marshall Faulk. Dual threat. Again, CMC before there was CMC.
I actually picked a current player and went with Patrick Mahomes.
Good choice.
So there's different strategies sometimes, right? You can go, usually I will go.
I think I went Tom Brady. I had to go get a QB, the GOAT.
Who's your first?
I went Walter Payton.
What's Payne?
Randy Moss.
So you went Moss.
I got Moss and Rice on the same team.
And that's what I was going to say is there's different strategies, right? I've done the old school players. Barry Sanders is my favorite running back. I usually go Barry first. But I was like, you know what, this time let me try to go with newer players. So my first pick was C.D. Lamb. In my head, his first couple years, he had great years. So I said, let me go that route. And then my next follow-up pick was Lamar Jackson. So I went with the current players and see how that goes. So right now I'm 1 and 2.
Not so well.
So, it's not working out, but it's still early in the season. It's only been 3 games, so we could go 500 today. So let's see how that goes.
These guys hammer on each other. I love that. I really do.
I mean, we're the co-founders. You better step it up, man. You're making us look bad, dog.
Something Greg was pointing out in terms of relationships and just connecting with people. Before just wrapping things up, I know we're getting late in time. We're going to do the raffle, and definitely would like Greg, Steve, and Tip to share a little bit about what they're doing. This community, this fantasy community, and that includes everybody in this room, in these rooms over here, has been the most welcoming group of people I've ever met in any type of business environment. I've never been around people who commit their time to the success of other people as much as the folks in this room and in this whole industry. This all started
How deep does your historical database go?
to the 60s.
Like I said, can't you draft Little Graham?
Well,
No, not yet. We're going to add him. V2.
Johnny Unitas?
Johnny Unitas is in there.
I just wonder how far back it went.
Oh, yeah. Goes back all the way to the 60s.
If the data is there, we're getting it.
Yes. We have the data.
but you have to have 3 years before they go in.
Yes.
So if you have a guy that just exploded last year, Sam Laporta, you can't draft him. He's got to have 3 years.
Puka.
I was thinking like Leroy
Yep.
Kelly. Nobody knows about.
Leroy Kelly?
Had like a couple great years.
Yeah, but remember, you're getting a random game. So the reason I went Kelsey 101 is because his entire career, other than his first year where he didn't really play, he's been a top 10 tight end his entire career, and for 6 out of 7 years he was number 1, and 1 year he was number 2 to Mark Andrews. So the consistency is just amazing. So.
Can I ask, how do you pick the random game?
We just developed an algorithm that randomly chooses a game. So it's as long as they started the game, they weren't injured, not a bye week, any of those things, the algorithm randomly picks one and doesn't pick the same one again in that season.
Because it could be different for each player then?
Yep.
Exactly.
Oh yeah.
What's up, Jagger?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. We went through that too. So if you click on the game that was played, you actually let me come over here. You actually see the statistics, the year the game was played. So this game, who is this for, Alan?
This is for Lamar Jackson.
Okay, so for Lamar Jackson, this game was October 18th, 2020. You have the passing yards, passing touchdowns, rushing yards, rushing touchdowns, completions, incompletions, fumbles, interceptions. So you know it's legitimate. Nothing wrong with AI, nothing wrong with simulation. God bless it. There's a place for it. In our application, we actually use historical data that we want our users to know everything's on the level. It's legit. There was nothing happened on the back end other than a random game being chosen from their actual careers.
And folks, it's free.
And it's free.
I mean,
Yes, free 99.
Go ahead, Jagger. You have something for us.
So with Travis Kelce, let's say I make a season, I want live for this, would I have his live score for that week?
No.
So that's why you need the 3 years, so it holds.
Every year.
So we update at the end of the Super Bowl, pretty much. So once the Super Bowl finishes, we add all the statistics for any playoff game, whatever game was played. We add that on, and then it gets a part of the whole.
So you'd have any of his games from last year?
Exactly.
Yes.
So all 2023 games are technically on site. Yes, sir.
So with drafting, I'm thinking of this as a broader thing for my family. Do you guys have drafting assist tools that says, hey, historically this player scored 21.5 points per game?
We do have a tool. So we do have a tool where the players are actually ranked on who scored the most fantasy points throughout their career. Little misleading, which is why developing your draft queue first is helpful, because Brett Favre has more fantasy points accumulated than Patrick Mahomes. You might want Mahomes first.
Right.
So
I'm not getting a points per game sort of thing.
We do have
We have
a,
the data, we just have it, we were working on the filter structure, because first we had it where it was most points for, and then we saw everybody just grabbing the most points for, okay, then we flipped it to alphabetical, but now we're just adding the feature to be able to flip between the filters at this point.
and we do have something in the app where if you go to settings, click players, you could click on the player and you could see the statistics from their entire career. So if you want to see consistency, to Greg's point, of how they perform throughout their career, you don't have to go look at a third-party site. You could get all the statistics for all the players in the application as well.
Hey, go visit Bob Lung, get his consistency guide for your regular fantasy. But on this one, I just think, I want to know, when could you add from all the leagues across your thing an average draft position tool?
That's
Would
doable.
that be something that you guys would like? If you go into draft and you could see, like if you go to Sleeper to draft on Sleeper, it kind of shows you an average draft position. Now, it's not perfect, but it's still pretty good. It gives you an idea of what players are being drafted and who to. Can you add that?
Sure.
I have an answer to that. So I would say we need all of you to download and actually draft so we can create an average draft position, right? That's what we're here to do, baby. So
There you go.
lock it in.
They didn't prompt me to say that. That's just something that came up while you guys were talking.
Absolutely.
You guys can do that for them and help them build their application to make it better.
Like I said, it's a community, right? And we lean on the folks to help us out to get a little bit better. And of course, you know, we take every feedback into account, right? Everything really matters for us. And I just want to add a little bit of details with the data, right? So with the randomization, the algorithm makes sure that the game doesn't repeat itself in that season. So whether you have an 8-team or a 20-team or however long the season is, that game is not going to repeat itself. But as long as they've taken a snap, aka Aaron Rodgers snapping his Achilles, right? Anytime that the snap's actually taken in, that's going to be a part of it, a part of the pool. So as long as they've taken a snap, be a part of it. They get injured during the game, you capture injury, so you can sweat a little bit, you know.
And one game, you can get a player's game from 3 years ago, and the next game it could be from last year. You don't know where the game's coming from, so it's just fun. And that's what fantasy football should be, is fun.
Yep. And then again, just running short on time and giving some time to our partners here. Just want to say that this all started with a LinkedIn message to Marcus Grant. So we randomly reach out to Marcus Grant on LinkedIn to say, hey, we're some guys with this idea. We don't know where to go, where to turn to get this developed. The guy took time to respond to us. Didn't have to. We're nobodies. We're just some guys who had an idea.
Fans.
Hey, go talk to fans. Go talk to Chris. Chris put us in contact with this person or that person. This person brought us into contact with these guys. So when I'm talking about the community and talking to people, tell your story.
We're the example, baby. We're a live example of it.
We reached out to Marcus and probably about 1,000 other people. We got 999 non-responses, but we got one response, and that one response really helped us out and put us in the place where we are right now to try to live out our dream. So again, love this community, appreciate the support from everybody here, everybody in this room right here, and wanted to give some time to Greg, Steven, and Tip to share what they have working on. Again, they've been so gracious with their time with us, and then we'll finish up with the raffle. So.
Yeah, so my company is called the Fantasy Trading Room. Our company kind of consists of being very personal with our subscribers. We have a monthly plan, $4.99, and we offer live draft help. We have a ton of tools. We have a draft simulator. We do rankings. And what kind of makes us a little different is we not only take into account data. We have our co-owner who's at our booth. He does all the advanced models, and it's basically we look at the last 5 years of data, if we can, for most players, and we use that to predict the next data point. It's hit about a 70% success rate, so very good base. But a lot of companies don't really look into the film of things as well. And that's where we look to fill in the other 30% of variance, because if they pass the eye test, there's a lot better chance that we can predict their future success as well. So that's kind of what we do, incorporate data and film, which isn't super talked about in the industry. But we're really excited working with Generations. We thought it was a fantastic idea. We obviously do a lot of written content. So our plan is, if you want to head over to fftradingroom.com, in the future when they kind of scale everything up and you're going to be doing drafts with your friends, be sure to come over there and we're going to help you get some pretty great strategies, some rankings, all that good stuff to win your Generations League.
Real quick, I want to add 2 seconds. 2 things. Just want a quick shout out to a couple people that are here. Jack, you've been an extra supporter for us. He's an awesome guy, fantasy joker. Make sure you check him out as well. Jorge Martin, my guy over there, salute. You my brother, appreciate the love. I just wanted a quick shout out, Jagger. You've been supportive as well, part of the cookout. And I just want to, again, shout out, just really amplify the cookout again. If you're looking for a way to break into the industry, looking for some help, some guidance, support, the cookout group is amazing. It's fantastic. There's a lot of great initiatives we got going on. A lot of different ways we're trying to get things more accessible for all of us, right? Especially some of the folks that just in life, it's difficult to get to things. You know, I personally have experienced it myself in the baking industry by, you know, being different, right? And we want to make sure we're all different. We all have an opportunity to actually try to get into things. So just want to really shout out the cookout there with support. Tip knows all about it. But I just want to make sure I shout that out there as a really, really big emphasis of how we got to where we are. Yep.
Oh, we want to give to Greg.
You, sir.
All right, well, Tip and I do a Thursday night podcast. We're always looking for guests. See Tip, he's got the cards that's got a barcode that'll send an email, and we will schedule you. I don't care. I want to get some people that are non-content creators to compete against Jagger, to compete against Tip. And we're tracking every prediction we make so that you'll know whether we did it right or didn't do it right. But we want to have fun. And these guys are fun. They really are. And how many times can you get in on the ground floor of a new startup and really impact a product that's going to be loved? So just do it. And, you know, it's a free game. Try it. If you hate it, delete it from your phone. Yeah. But if you love it, well, whether you hate it or love it, what you like or dislike, tell them. I mean, that IDP thing I came up with just now, I hadn't thought about that before. It just popped in. My head's weird. So anyway, Tip, did you want to? Oh, one thing too. I want to give a shout out to the boys of the sports affiliation and the ladies. We're looking for content creators, and we partner with people, and you don't have to be exclusive with these guys. But there's one thing about JC and Iggy. They only want positive people. They want to spread positive vibes only, which is the only reason I came out of retirement to do a podcast with them, is because there's no negativity allowed. If you're interested, stop by their booth and see JC and Iggy.
First of all, Greg, I love you, man. You have meant so much to me, Greg, and I love this generations, man. This is, it's about love. It's about coming together, because that's what fantasy football, it got us through pandemics. It's gotten us through tough times in our life, and it's about having fun and love. And, you know, it's not every day you get to play with a Hall of Famer, and, you know, I've beat him in regular leagues. I can't beat him in this league, man. I suck when it comes to this.
Our first test, I went 5-2 and lost in the playoffs, but they have a third place game in their playoffs too. So I finished third. JC won the league, the first test. It was an 8-team league. The way they do it is if there's 8-team league, they play 7 weeks. So everybody plays everybody one time. No advantage that way. And then they go into the playoffs. 2-5. Okay, just so you know. Okay.
Yeah, man, I had a tough time.
Our second test, he didn't play in. We had a 12-team.
I was too mad. I'm too freaking competitive.
8-3 and champion. And then I come into this with these yahoos, and I'm 2-5. But I wanted to ask a question. Okay, during your gameplay, we're playing our games at 8 o'clock every night, right? Can you watch the game as the stats are being added? Yes. Okay, explain that, please.
Absolutely. So due to the fact that we work on historical data, we could have the game generate all at once. So at 8 o'clock when the game starts, we could have the entire team scores generate at once. Not fun. 2 minutes, the game's over. You know who won. You're not going to come back to it. That's it. So what we do is we stagger the scores. So the scores come out 8 p.m. 1 player, 2 players scores will be generated. 10, 15 minutes, the next couple players generated, and so on and so forth. So for about an hour and a half, again, not big time commitment or anything, but through that hour and a half, you're going back to the application to look at it to say, okay, did I come back? I actually played Steven a couple days ago, and Rodney Hampton gave me, I think, 12. He was down by a lot. Forte gave him 22, and he beat me by 1 point. So,
Tip, first week this year, right?
Tied me.
1 or week 2? 96,
Week 1.
96.
Yep.
Tie game.
Yep.
You know what Tip says? They got to put in decimal score.
So, and we are going to have that ability too to like finite things a little bit more, have the percentage points. Again, this is something very high level, very basic still, but as Imran's showing the scores right there, you can see that.
Actually, I just want to put it out there. Anybody have any questions, comments, anything out there you guys think? We'd love to just hear from the crowd.
You guys should get a league together while you're here. You can play it all in one day, right?
All in one day. You can have a game start every hour if you want.
You guys should do that. And you should talk to Jagger, and I'm volunteering him. You should play against him.
Voluntold.
Because he is one of the top fantasy analysts in the game.
And I'm so sorry, Tip, did you want to add anything?
Well, yeah, let me, again, it's about community. It's about, I feel like can become lifelong friendships. I work with the cookout team as well. It's been amazing the times that I've talked to these guys. I've gotten to know them now, and they supported Imran and all you guys with Generations, and it's been beautiful. I met Imran and I was like, I already like the dude's energy. I'm down, bro. Let's go. Let's do it. Talk to me about it. And man, it's changing the way we think about playing sports, fantasy sports, and we're big on it. And we just had Greg on our podcast, Larry Schechter, and he wrote a book on the history of fantasy sports. And if you guys don't get the book, it's really cool. But I want to tell him about, we told him about you, but we want to make a part 2 because something like this can be incorporated in that, man, and it's really cool. I do a podcast with Greg. It's been a pleasure. Imran's been on our podcast, talking about Generations. A lot of people are talking about it. There's a buzz. There's a buzz about it, and these guys are passionate. I'm passionate. Greg's passionate about it, and we believe in it. It's a great product, man.
Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. And again, we're in the beginning stages. We're not this big conglomerate or anything. We're working.
Yeah, I gotta go to work on Monday.
And all that stuff. So yeah. So we're still 9 to 5 guys. Again, this is a passion project, something that we're putting a lot of time and effort into to grow. And again, really appreciate the support. And with that being said, we'll go to the raffle. Again, appreciate it.
Even before that, I have a funny story.
Go ahead.
So my son knows that this is the application that we built up, right? But he also knows I have restriction on YouTube on my phone for him. So he's found a way to navigate, to click into the application and go through the YouTube link in our app to go to YouTube and go to his videos. So we create intuition. We're creating ways for the youth to find ways to piss you off even more. So if you want your kids to learn, I think Generations is a good learning tool. just had to throw it in. I thought it was a funny story,
The hustle is real and you learn it from Dad.
And I was like, he's like, Dad, look, YouTube. And I'm like, how? Through their app. I was like, God, I did it to myself. Ingenuity. Let's roll it, baby.
Let's roll it.
So we got a signed Joe Montana jersey we are trying to give away here. Let's see.
Would anybody like to come up to actually pull the ticket? Come on up.
Oh, Jagger's my guy.
I want to know why you did somebody that didn't go to Michigan, man. You could have had Brady.
Brady's price was a little bit higher than Montana these days.
Here we go. And the winner, sponsored by Jagger.
They had Jagger.
Costa E.
If you lose, you can blame Jagger.
Costa? Oh, Costa. He's from, okay. Costa's a local from Akron, Ohio. I don't see him right here, but we actually met him yesterday. The ticket number is 559010.
That's me? No.
We got Costa Jr. right here. No, I'm joking. We're going to see if we find him in there. He went to, I think, Akron Middle School. Let me see if we can find him. He got his number and all that good stuff. But yeah, Costa E's the winner of the jersey.
Congratulations, Costa. Congratulations.
And with all of that said, again, we really appreciate all of your time. Again, the hour you just took out, investing in us, listen to us yap for an hour means so much, more than you know. Again, we're some guys that had an idea and made it happen, and thank you so much for the investment. Any questions, concerns, thoughts, you could definitely reach out to us on our social medias. Thank you guys for your support. Greg, Steve, and Tip, really thank you so much.
Be sure to say hi to Bob and Jagger before you leave here.
Oh, and last time, I'm so sorry. I'm disrespectful. Shout out to Bob Lung in the NFL, the Fantasy Expo. Bob Lung, one of the most amazing humans I think we met. We were on his podcast. God bless Bob and the whole Expo. Yes, thank you so much. I'm sorry for that. Thank you.